long as I could do that, you know what I'm saying?
Then it's a success. Life is a success if you get the good draws. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, I'm so comfortable.
What's going on, guys? For Complex News, I'm Speedy Mormon, and we have a very special guest in the building today. The biggest boss that you've seen thus far is here, Ricky Ross. How are you, bro?
Good to see you, brother.
Good to see you as well. It's been a few years now that we've known each other. I've interviewed you maybe 4 or 5 times.
Right.
And I want to start this out by showing you a couple highlights. You told me Port of Miami 2 was coming.
Right.
A couple months have passed.
Right.
Is it still coming? What's the word with the album, bro?
We're actually a few days from the countdown.
Port of Miami 2, man. We've been waiting for it for a while. What's up with the album, bro?
It's a good chance. It's looking real good. The album is, I'm putting the final touches on it, and it's a good chance. You get it sooner than you can even imagine. I mean,
last time I spoke to you, you said this year. You said it was coming 2017.
And I try my best to keep my word with you.
So the first clip I showed you was 2018. The
Right.
second clip, 2017. Here we are, 2019. Ross, what took us so long? We're excited, but what took us so long to get to this moment?
I let the anticipation build. I let it bubble.
Was this on purpose? Was this an intentional thing?
Not necessarily, but when you making records, it has to be some form of inspiration and motivation for myself. You know what I mean? And you got to find ways to remain creative. And I finally felt I accomplished that through different things that I put together on the album. So I'm excited, and we're a few days away from it.
Okay, but that's not the first time I've heard you say we're a few days. Is this really gonna happen on August 9th?
This is the first time I ever gave you a release date.
Facts, that's true. You didn't give us a date before.
You better believe
that is very true. So right now we're obviously about a week out from the album,
right.
Port of Miami 2. Take me back though to a week before Port of Miami 1. What's the difference between Rick Ross now and Rick Ross then?
Oh man, it's a lot. It's huge differences. Never releasing an album, being a new artist, just having a major record deal. It's like you really accomplishing a dream. This really came true, and for me, it was more about delivering to the ones who believed in me more than myself. So that went for my fans, my city, as well as my partners, which was Jay-Z, L.A. Reid, Shakir Stewart, Def Jam Records. I wanted to really deliver for everybody that believed in me, and never being in that position before, it's most definitely a lot of different ways your mind can race. But after you deliver number one album, after you do that, a certain amount of times you kind of understand the system, and now you can just really hone in on the music. You trust your team, you trust the process, you know what they expect, and it's just about you delivering. So I love when it's just on me.
For sure. Let's fast forward then from Port of Miami 1, what, 13 years almost?
13.
10 studio albums later. Yeah. Why, you've never done a part 2 of a solo studio album. Why did you want to do a part 2 this time?
It was kind of like when I first seen Tupac having a double CD, or B.I.G. having a double CD. That was another way to elevate the game, to raise the stakes. And that's what I did by Port of Miami 1 being the foundation that I built the empire on. I felt like it wasn't fear, but the challenge of recreating that part 2. That, to me, raised the stakes. I just feel like after delivering a certain amount of projects, Port of Miami always came back up in the conversation with real Rick Ross fans. So by me making it to album number 10, it's almost like I'm hitting the reset button, giving them that same hunger, that same passion, that same level of, almost feeling, as a new artist and not knowing where it's gonna go. I think that feels dope to me.
For sure, Lau. Obviously, all we know about the album so far is rumors. But one of the rumors that I've heard is that you have a song with some young guys on the album, particularly Denzel Curry and A Boogie.
Right.
Is this true? Is this a fact?
It is a fact. It is a fact. I felt like me being a boss and once again being in this position is also my obligation to introduce some youngsters. It wasn't just about me reaching out to my biggest homies, but I wanted to give some youngsters an opportunity, and that's what I did with the collaboration with A Boogie Denzel Curry, 305 Zone. Shout out to Denzel. Shout out to A Boogie. I always like this vibe. He running around, he repping his city, and he's solid. So we got together and we actually made a dope record.
What kind of vibe is it, and what is it that you're talking about on that record?
Well, you know, that record is called Running the Streets, and I touch on the downside maybe more than the upside of living a fast life. And that was the difference between my last album and this album, and me experiencing, you know, I really lost somebody that was close to me. Rest in peace to Black Bo. So that was most definitely something that touched me and made me put things on pause. Then I had a health situation last year. So that most definitely was something else that kind of slowed down my process. And to me, it's no need to rush it. You know, it's all about the quality of work. So I just wanted to make sure I got everything the way I wanted it to. So August 9th, here we are.
I feel like people haven't heard you speak very candidly about the health scare. Did that teach you something about yourself? Did you gain a new perspective on life when you kind of went through that situation?
Most definitely it did. Just waking up in the hospital with all your homeboys, you know, it's like they had their back to me. They was all talking, and it's like I just rose up and everybody looked back like, what? And I'm like, you know, where we at? We at the club, you know, I dozed off, you know what I'm saying? Boy, you been in here 2 days, you know? And so it most definitely made me reevaluate and approach some things even more directly than I ever have. And I Still Pray, records like Fascinated, records like Running the Street, I most definitely know I took it somewhere else with those records.
How much of the incident do you remember? Do you remember all of it? Is it kind of spotty?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, most definitely. You know, I've been having seizures for the last few years because of my lack of sleep. You know, drinking codeine and doing other things. You know, I just had to really get a grip on my lifestyle and the way I was living. You know, my doctor told me, you gotta get some rest, you gotta get some sleep. That's the most important thing. But my passion and the fire that burned in me for certain things, it wouldn't let me sleep. And so, you know, I wasn't born an epileptic, so the seizures I would have, 5 minutes later, I would be back to doing whatever I was doing before I had one, you know? And so this particular time, something came up, you know, and went back down, you know what I'm saying, out of my stomach. So they rushed me to the hospital, and at the hospital, you know, they knew who I was, so what they did was take me to the floor where it was almost like a glass, a fish bowl, you know, where they could see through the wall, where, you know, where some of the most serious things happen. You either have a heart attack or your brain or this or that. So that's where that rumor came from. Rose had a heart attack because of the floor they took me on.
Got it.
But it wasn't that situation. So, you know, 2 days later, 3 days later, I was back home, and, you know, it just made me look at a few things, and that's where me writing the memoir, Hurricanes, that's where that came from. That's something that I'm pretty sure I may not have done if I didn't wake up in the hospital with a bunch of homies, end up talking about a bunch of things, and we reminiscing, and yo, man, you know, we was, you know, just seeing some of my big dogs who don't get emotional and all of that, just, you know, talking to me about different things. So it made me most definitely embrace some things.
Well, thank you for speaking candidly and honestly about that. Let's go back to the album for a second. So that was the first rumor I heard. The second rumor I heard is that there's a record with Nipsey on it.
It is.
Is this true? How did that record come together?
It was actually a record we may have recorded maybe a month before his untimely demise. Rest in peace to Nipsey. Still sending my condolences to his family. And, you know, and to me the biggest thing is I pray my homie had an idea of the scale he took his vision to. And the marathon still continues.
Do you remember the last conversation that you had with him? Was it regarding this record or about something else?
It actually was regarding the video to this record.
Damn, so you were supposed to shoot a video to this?
Yeah, we spoke on filming a video in Miami, allowing Tiana to direct it. She's also on the record. She had just recently released a video she directed that was dope. I forgot the name of it, and we spoke on it. And that's when I reached out to her, told her what me and Nip spoke on and how she felt about the idea. She told me she loved it. I hung up, called Nip back, yo, she loved it. We gonna stay in touch and whoop, whoop, whoop. And that just went back and forth for maybe a week until I got the news. And that, you know, unfortunately came from her. I answered the phone from her thinking she finna tell me something about the video. She's screaming in the phone, telling me, you know, what happened. And You know, I was just trying to, you know, I'm one of them dudes that if it's something crazy, I just, nah, I'm gonna push the reset button. I didn't hear that. And that's what it was, but unfortunately, that's what it was.
Damn. So there's a record on his album, Victory Lap, that obviously was Grammy nominated. He said, they killed Dr. Sebi, he was teaching health. I fuck with Rick Ross cause he teaching wealth. Do you remember hearing that line for the first time? And does it mean more now, you know, that he's no longer with us?
Everything he's ever done, every word, every conversation we ever shared means that much more now. Really priceless. When I first met Nip, I understood he had a purpose and he understood his purpose. He understood his reason for being in the game, because it wasn't just a young MC just looking for somebody to do a feature. He didn't approach me talking about a feature. He approached me asking questions about ownership, entrepreneurship, publishing, you know, different things that, you know, artists who usually approach me don't. They just, you know, a lot of them want to take a pick and possibly let's do a record. And so we began to build on those conversations, and ultimately I offered him a deal at MMG, and the timing wasn't right. I may not have been ready, he may not, but whatever it was, we stayed in touch and always spoke on different things. And
something that a lot of people are excited about is Maybach 6. Are there any updates on it at all?
I just feel like, you know, my intentions when I put the record together was I got some beautiful production from the Justice League. Shout out to the Justice League for doing this continuously again. I sent the production to Wayne. He blessed me on a whole nother level. Shout out to Tune. And what I did was I took the instrumental and sent to Pusha T as well. I just really felt like, yo, I've been through this for years myself. Not only that, anytime my bros have situations that I believe I could assist in without really stepping on toes, I would love to do that. And that's what I did before several times with the homies, several times, not to mention, of course, with Meek and Drake. And of course, if the timing not right, we gotta wait for that. And you see what Meek and Drake collaborated and did. And that's all I try to do. I just try to hit the fast forward button. Because I done did the battle shit, I done did it. You don't get nothing from it. Only thing you may get from it is a false sense of success. You ain't gonna get no more money from it. Because if you was getting money from it, I'd still be crushing motherfuckers like a jelly bean. But you don't get nothing from it. You know what I mean? And then when you realize you crush your opponent, then they have no value. Mm-hmm. I've been through this. I've watched some of the, you know, the biggest towers just crumble and they have no value. So you get nothing from that. And I just tried to do that by me collaborating on Pusha's last album. I felt nobody else was in that position to try to bring these two together. And I just wanted to bring that conversation about. And that's what we did. But the real question is it time for that?
Right.
And it may not be time for that.
Obviously, we know now that your intention's very pure. You kind of just want to see this thing come to an end. Yeah. But now that the world knows, right, that they were supposed to be on a record together, have either of them reached out to you? Have they said anything about it?
Nah, it wasn't about that. And it wasn't, that's the dope thing about both parties. It wasn't about each other, you know what I mean? If the record just don't work out, it'll really be ultimately a rose pull, you know, because we gotta do the right thing, and it's for the bigger picture. It ain't about my record. It ain't about me selling records. Them two homies, to me, is bigger than my record, you know, and I totally understand that, but as long as they understand it was genuine, and that's what's important to me.
If now is not the time for that record, what happens to the Maybach Music franchise? Does it continue? Will we get a new Maybach Music 6? Because it's such a storied franchise. Right. Dej Loaf was on there, Erykah Badu, and so many people.
Ultimately, the final decision, August 9th, you know, gonna decide that. But I'm sure there will be a Maybach Music 6. What format, we'll have to see.
The next record that I heard, it's not a rumor because I've heard it. Talk to me about the new Drake record that's going off right now everywhere. Radio plays, social media.
Once again, that was influenced by Nipsey. I gotta salute my little bro Drake, OVO, the whole squad, Tune, Young Money. And that was me, and I was in LA and I was kicking it with Drake. We was chopping it up and Nipsey came up in the conversation. And one of the things Drake said that just touched me, he was like, yo, I just want to smell my flowers while I'm here. And so, once Drake put that first half of the record together and I got it, we went back and forth and that just stayed in my mind. So, you know, I was like, yo, let's name it Gold Roses. And, you know, it just, that's it. And that was the vibe.
Word. Obviously the song is about giving people their flowers while they're still here and able to smell it. I want to talk about some of the lyrics from your verse. You said something, you opened it up by saying something like, Grammy nominated, but I never won a Grammy. Do you care? Do you want to win a Grammy? Does that mean anything to you? Or are you just more, you know, focused on having an impact on the game?
You know, when you do what you love, being acknowledged is always something dope. Was that ever particularly my goal? Port of Miami one, was I working on my album and thinking about a Grammy? Not at all. And you know, I pretty much stick to my same code, but I just felt that was something dope. Me collaborating with my bro, you know, and it's like we do some of the dopest records, and that bond is genuine, and that's so dope. He, you know, he's recognized Grammy-wise, and he deserves that. Mm-hmm. And what I do, I feel the streets deserve that. So if I never got a Grammy, I understand. And that's what I said in that line, you know, I never won a Grammy, but I understand. They'll never understand me.
Right. Do you feel like you're misunderstood?
I mean, most definitely a lot of different ways what I bring to the table can be taken a certain way. And I understand that because me coming in the game, I was always problematic. And I understand that. So that's what I mean by I understand if somebody don't understand the things I understand.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's understood.
For sure. Let's talk about you and Drake. Obviously, it seems like almost every single time you guys link up, it's a bomb. I mean, Aston Martin music, Diced Pineapples, Stay Scheming. It's just one after another. Why? What is it about you two? Like, why do y'all bring out the best in each other? Why is it that every time you link up, it's a hit?
I just think naturally and honestly, we fans of each other. We fans of each other. I remember the first time I was finna say a trick, but a chick, even though we don't kick it with her no more. But I remember the first time she ever told me about this artist Drake. I said, well, play him. I remember. And when I heard him, I heard his tone and I heard the melodies. He went from rapping to singing. I was like, that's different, you know? You know, me then, if you was a new artist, I wasn't just gonna give it to you off top. But I most definitely said, that's different. And I began listening to him. And I knew, you know, he was around some great dudes. I knew him being around Lil Wayne. And if he kept that same work ethic that Lil Wayne most definitely was on, because it was only a few artists that really went in the studio the way we did, and we all had a high respect for each other. And when I met him for the first time in our first collaborations, it just went back and forth, and then it continued to grow. He came to my crib a couple times. You know, we sat down, we was in the studio, French was in the studio at my crib. We pulled up Stay Scheming, and then we began shooting virals for the videos. And we was just laughing about that last week, how Stay Scheming, you know, our sneakers was scuffed up. We just recorded it, went out in the back streets of Miami, downtown, 3 in the morning, jumped out. Our jewels wasn't right, you know what I'm saying? Our jeans wasn't really, you know what I'm saying? But that's what we was laughing about because we just loved it that much. That didn't matter. We did a dope record and we couldn't wait for the label to film it. We filmed it ourselves, you know, that type of vibe.
So in theory then, we have that lady, that woman to thank, because if she never played you that Drake record in that moment, who knows what this relationship would look like?
Ooh, you never know. You might be right. So shorty, you know who you are. She from Baltimore. I ain't saying your name, baby, but you put me up on Young Drizzy, and ever since then, you know, our collaborations have always been at the highest level. It's no stress, it's no pressure. It's always just cool vibes, but we always, you know, just discuss the direction we want to do. Same way with Money in the Grave. Rose, I got this joint, you know, just send it to me, I got you.
Is it that simple for Drake? He just hits you, I got, and you already know, okay.
Yeah.
And that's it.
You know, once I hear the title and once I hear the music, I know what it is. I know what, you know, I know what he expect from me, and vice versa. You know, when I text him something, yo, Drizzy, I need something to make them girls just wanna, you know, and you know, he'll bust out laughing, you know what I'm saying? And just like with this Gold Roses vibe, he know I love when we do what nobody else could do. Mm-hmm. When he switched from those melodies to them rhymes, nobody else could do that. So he know I love that. So when he start the record off, who made me? Y'all know, forgive me, I can't sing. But when he start off with that vibe like that, he know Rose gonna love this. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to my little bro.
A lot of people consider the two of you to be one of the best tandems in hip hop today. Is there any chance that we'd ever see a collab album or a collab tape from the two of y'all?
Honestly, you never know. Just me being honest, you know what I mean? We spoke on that years ago with the YOLO project, us, you know, being in Miami, recording records, us partying in Vegas. We do our concerts and we have a little, go back to the room, we have a party, invite our homies over, and you know, one night we had a conversation like, yo, we gonna do YOLO, we gonna just do 3-4 joints each, and we just gonna put them together and then we knock them out. And you know, it was just something we never got around to.
But would it be something that you'd be down for?
Most definitely. You know, it's just, you know, let's say if we went out to one of them spots on the island somewhere and the water looks like that Evian, and we got the studio lined up, the chef lined up. That's something we could do in 48 hours, that's without a doubt. But like I said, you know, when the timing right, we may get to it.
I'm curious, where do you find inspiration these days? Are you finding inspiration from the same place that you have for almost the past 2 decades, or is it newfound inspiration?
You gotta find new ways to inspire yourself, because, you know, certain things could become redundant, you know, and it could be something as simple as a pair of sneakers. It could be something simple as me linking up with some homies I haven't seen in a few months, or it could be just me flying home to my kids knowing they waiting for me.
I remember hearing a story once about you seeing this crib that you liked, and it had like mad bedrooms in it and mad bathrooms, and then you would leave and then you would sneak back in because you remembered the passcode or something. Like, what was the story of that?
It was a crib. I had a realtor go show me a crib. It was maybe like a $10 million crib down in Coconut Grove. And of course, that would have been, at that point in my career, you know, my most expensive purchase maybe. So I had the realtor take me there. I look at his fingers, put the code in the gate, take me in, you know, take me around the crib, 10 bedrooms, 2 elevators, this and that. And you know, I let him show it to me. You know, I didn't act too excited. We left. I went back home, got one of my homies, went to Wingstop, because I knew I was finna have lunch in this empty crib. I went and got Wingstop, went back to my homie, put the code back in, went back into the house, and sat back in there like it was my shit, you know what I'm saying? Ate wings, you know what I'm saying? Walked back through it, and I was just so inspired. It was just something about buildings and structures for me since I was a youngster, as well as whips, whatever it is. I was just like, yo, I need this, you know, and that most definitely inspired me. I leave there, I go straight to whatever I gotta do, to master whatever it is I'm doing.
How many times do you think you went back to that crib?
At least 3 or 4, maybe 5.
You were having real meal, like go get food and then sit in that crib as if it was yours?
Yeah. Go sit everything on the counter, jump on the counter, take my shoes off, look around, imagine how I would decorate it. I just laid it all out. Yeah, I need $2 million for the furniture for this. Yeah, my yard man gotta know. he gotta, yeah.
What did that do for you mentally? Did that bring you to a point where you're like, okay, now it's time to go grind?
You gotta grind. That's how I go. The time when I wrote BMF and MC Hammer, I had just landed in LA and I stopped and got some of the best trees, and I had my homie with me. I told him, yo, play the beats. I told the driver, take me by the biggest houses out here in LA. And I was smoking and looking, I say, damn, that's that type of crib MC Hammer had. And that's where the record came from.
Damn.
I'm smoking, riding through another, oh man, I think I'm, and that really inspired me. And ultimately, I guess that inspiration led to me getting the largest one I ever seen.
And now what, the biggest residential pool in America?
Better believe it.
Take me back to young Ross. Where did you learn to hustle? Where did this come from?
Really just growing up where I grew up. It was real clear. It was obvious from the beginning. There's haves and have-nots. Take it however you want to take it. You could make it deep, complicated, however, or you could just shut up and face it. That was one of the first things my dad ever told me. I don't complain. Complaining don't do nothing for you. Okay, cool. I don't complain then. I learned that early, but haves and have-nots. My dad had a Buick that we loved. We called it Scrappy. It was a little aged though. And then I saw some people had the SEL 500, the diesel, the one that had the wipers on the headlights and wipers on the windshield. Mm-hmm. You know, so I'm standing this tall and I'm looking at wipers on the headlights, and I say, damn, we need a car with wipers on the headlights. Damn, I like that gold watch he got on. What the hell you gotta do to get that? Rose need the answers. Yeah. And I knew I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna figure it out.
It's something about the way you tell stories that makes me really envision like everything that you're saying.
And I believe that's because the way I'm describing it is the way I remember seeing it.
I remember last time, or one of the last times I interviewed you, you told me about this story where you used to wash cars and the dope boys would pull up and you knew some about to put in a little extra work on certain people. Can you refresh my memory? What was that story?
That was a story that I repeat all the time. I used to work at a car wash. I made $30 a day from 8 in the morning to 8 at night. So they basically let you know you gotta live off your tips. So you gotta really go hard. And I was washing cars behind a gas station. Next to the gas station was the flea market, which was a real popular spot for the hustlers. Pull up, you could go get your Bally's, your Clarks, Jewels, whatever it was. 183rd Street Flea Market in the middle of Carol City. So I was washing cars there, and I learned real quick, the homies with the certain tires and rims on their cars, they tip the best. And so I used to let them know I'd do anything for you. I'll wash the car. If you leave me $20, I'll fill your tank up. If you left me with enough time, I'll put your cassettes in alphabetical order. Whatever it is, I think that may be the small difference between the ones who really go get it and the ones who just talking. Because every car that I loved, that I washed, I own right now. Every old school, I don't know how many I got, I'll be lying to you. Is it over 20? Way over 20. Old schools. Every one that I ever said, I'm gonna get that. Yeah, because the same way I wash cars, I build franchises now with that same drive. Did I know how to do No, I didn't. It's a lot of things I didn't know that I'm capable of pulling off, and I understand that. And that's the only example I want to set for the youngsters.
Obviously, Meek just signed a label deal, Dream Chasers.
Congratulations.
What does that mean for you, though? Is he still signed to Maybach? Is it?
He is. He actually is still signed to Maybach Music. But you got to understand the type of situation in the deal I gave Meek Mill as well as Wale is from the beginning when we, first closed the deal, however long ago that was. I put them in a position where they were bosses from the beginning. You know, I want to see Meek stand on his own 2 feet and shine and take all the credit he deserves for being the same dude, you know, I saw that fire in.
Let's talk about your book. You got a book coming out soon.
Big time.
Hurricanes is the title?
Hurricanes.
Hurricane, yeah. What can people expect from this book? How deep are you getting? Are you talking some real shit?
Yeah. I'm gonna ruffle a few feathers. Why not?
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing new for Rose.
No. I always love kicking shit, kicking the bucket over. You know, and that's
stirring the
what
pot a little bit.
Yeah. That's what we finna do. We gonna stir it a little bit more.
Okay. When does it drop?
The month of September. Shout out to Neil Martinez, my homie who actually helped me put it together. He followed me around for maybe a year and a half. The first half of the 6 months he was around me, I thought he was an undercover agent. So I never spoke to him really, and we just got over that conversation. And so shout out to Neil for being patient and actually finishing the damn book.
How honest do you get in it?
Oh, I kept it all the way 1,000. You know what I'm saying? It was certain things that I may not have spoke on before, but like I said, having that health scare, I stepped on the gas with a few things. I may not have done a memoir before then,
right?
But I felt like, this is something we need to do, because I know when Rose write a book, the movie gonna come right behind that. Shout out to the companies. It's real talk that's already talking about buying the rights before the damn book even came out. I never heard of that or fathomed that. But like I say, this might be the agents trying to trick me.
So a Rick Ross biopic potentially in the works. What do you think that looks like? What?
Oh man.
A motion picture?
Oh man. This shit is crazy.
If this movie does actually come into fruition, would you play yourself?
I don't think so.
Why?
I don't know, I just don't think so. Because it's so much involved with, as I started younger. So I could really paint the picture, letting people see how I moved as a youngster. Those early years are so key. And I knew I couldn't play it then, and maybe I just never thought about that.
Ross, what do you think your legacy will be? Or what do you want your legacy to be when this is all said and done?
Rich forever. I thought I told everybody, hit me up on IG, Rich forever. You know what I mean? I want to have a nice rocking chair and go fishing, big mouth bass. You know what I'm saying? And wear the comfortable underwear, not the ones that, me being a bigger person, that cut against my side. I want the soft, the good fabric. Long as I could do that, you know what I'm saying?
Then it's a success. Life is a success if you get the good drawers, is that what you're saying?
Oh, I'm so comfortable. And I just want to, as I get older, I want to have the comfortable underwear, not them $2 joints I grew up on. That they kind of cut. They're uncomfortable. I work hard to get out of those. I don't never want to go back to those. I don't want to say the brand name, but just know
they were not comfortable.
I'm still watching you.
Ross, this is a question that I ended every interview so far that I've ever had with you. You say this all the time, but I need some more boss talk. Why is today the perfect day to boss up? You always say that. It's a perfect day to boss up. Why is today the perfect day to boss up?
Because this the youngest you will ever be. This the best opportunity you will ever have. And the biggest job you will ever have in your whole life is being the CEO of your life. That's the most important position you will ever hold. And you better make that decision to get on your shit right now. Because if you waiting on your rich homies or your big cousins and all that, boy, I feel bad for you. Yeah.
Perfect. Rick Ross, thank you so much. I
Thank you,
appreciate your
brother.
time. August 9th.
August 9th.
August 9th, Port of Miami 2.
Make sure you stream it, pick it up, post it.